She said, "You're too distant, but your presence in my heart never fades." She told me, "You're too volatile, but I love the fire that burns within you." She said, "You're too withdrawn, but in your silence I find a love deeper than words." She warned me, "You're too stubborn, but your resolve is what keeps me anchored." She said, "You're too wild, but I crave the chaos that brings me to life." She told me, "You're too sensitive, but your heart beats with a purity I've never known." She said, "You're too conflicted, but it's your struggle that makes you real to me." She warned me, "You're too unstable, but I feel at peace whenever I'm with you." She said, "You're too emotional, but your tears reflect the depth of your love." She told me, "You're too complicated, but in your complexity I find endless fascination." She said, "You're too arrogant, but your confidence is the kind of power I admire." She warned me, "You're too impatient, but I've never known someone so eager to love." She said, "You're too harsh, but your honesty clears away the darkness around me." She told me, "You're too quiet, but in your silence I hear the voice of my heart." She said, "You're too perfect, but perfection only makes me love you more." She warned me, "You're too hard to love, but I've never fought for something so worth it." She said, "You're too broken, but your cracks are where I found my home." She told me, "You're too complicated, but it's in your mystery that I'm lost and found." She said, "You're too hard to reach, but I'm willing to climb every mountain to get to you." If this touched your soul, don't scroll, like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. She said, "You're too fast to love, but I never wanted anything more than to fall for you." She warned me, "You're too slow to let go, but your clinging is the reason I hold on." She said, "You're too emotional, but in your tears I found a love that was real." She told me, "You're too withdrawn, but in your isolation I find peace that I can't describe." She said, "You're too guarded, but it's in your defenses that I find tenderness." She warned me, "You're too distant, but I see the ocean inside you that I want to dive into." She said, "You're too unpredictable, but it's your surprise that I crave." She told me, "You're too introverted, but your quiet strength fills me with peace." She said, "You're too demanding, but your needs give me purpose." She warned me, "You're too complicated, but it's your intricacies that make me adore you." She said, "You're too sensitive, but your heart's depth is something I will never understand." She told me, "You're too passionate, but it's your fire that lights my soul." She said, "You're too distracted, but every time you look at me, I know you're here." She warned me, "You're too judgmental, but it's your standards that make me want to rise." She said, "You're too stubborn, but your strength is something I could never let go of." She told me, "You're too volatile, but it's your unpredictability that draws me in. She said you're too much, but I crave every single part of you. She warned me you're too distant, but your absence only makes me want you more. She said you're too wild, but in your chaos, I've found my calm. She told me you're too perfect, but I'll spend my life trying to be worthy of you. Too daring, too quiet, too everything she warned me about. Yet here I am, loving the storm she feared. Too mysterious for her comfort, yet your silence became my safest place. Too intense, she said, but your intensity is where I remembered who I am. Too unreadable, yet I learned your love between the pauses. Too dangerous, too deep. I didn't fall, I drowned, willingly. Too rebellious, but rebellion felt like freedom in your arms. Too unpredictable, but you were the only thing that ever made sense. Too many secrets, she said, but your shadows taught me to see. Too raw, too real. I never wanted polished love anyway. Too stubborn, but your refusal to leave became my anchor. Too complicated, she warned, but I craved the chaos you carried. Too selfish, but you taught me to want something for myself. Too haunted, she said. I kissed every ghost and called them family. Too heartbroken to heal. But I saw flowers in your ruins. Too impulsive, yet your wildness felt more honest than anything else. Too many scars, but everyone told me a story worth loving. Too quiet, too watchful, but your silence sang lullabies to my soul. Too misunderstood, so I made it my mission to understand you. Too much fire, she said, but I was made to burn beside you. Too reckless, but you crashed into me with purpose. Too guarded, but I learned to love you without unlocking the door. Too broken, but you made beautiful shapes out of your pain. Too lost, she claimed, but getting lost in you felt like being found. Too cold, but you melted in the heat of my touch. Too late to save, she said, but you saved me. Too angry, but your rage was poetry in motion. My dear, she said you're too honest, yet I see it as the only thing that saves me. She said you're too intense, but I've never craved anything more than the depth of your gaze. She warned me you were too much, but I've never known someone who feels so much. My mom said you're too wild, but your freedom is the air I breathe. She said you're too unpredictable, but you are exactly what my heart longs for. She thinks you're too loud, but your silence speaks louder than any of her judgments. She said you're too blunt, but sometimes truth is the only thing that heals. She told me you're too emotional, but your emotions are the bridge to my soul. She warned me, you're too broken, but it's in your cracks that I see light. My mom said, you're too distant, but I've always felt you are exactly where I need you. She said, you're too charming, yet your charm pulls me deeper than I ever imagined. She told me, you're too proud, but pride in love is just the strength to never let go. She said, you're too loud, but your voice is the song my heart never stops singing. She warned me, you're too complex, but it's in your layers that I find my purpose. My mom said, you're too chaotic, yet I find peace in your storms. She said, you're too different, but it's your difference that makes me feel alive. She told me, you're too quick to fall, but I've never known a love so sure. She said, you're too possessive, but I never wanted to be free of you. She warned me, you're too hard to handle, but I was made to be your counterpart. My mom said, you're too dangerous, but it's in your risks that I find myself. She said, you're too selfish, but your love for me is all I've ever needed. She told me, you're too guarded, but in your walls I found my safe haven. She warned me, you're too broken, yet it's your pieces that make us whole. She said, you're too perfect, but I see the flaws that make you human, and I love them. She told me, you're too mysterious, but your secrets are what make me want to know more. She said, you're too intense, but I would rather drown in your passion than feel empty. She warned me, you're too unreliable, but your soul is the only certainty I crave. She said, you're too controlling, but I can only surrender to the love you give. She told me, you're too proud, but I admire how you stand tall for what's yours. She warned me, you're too fragile, but your brokenness only makes me want to protect you more. She said, you're too slow to trust, but I'd wait forever for your heart to open. She said, you're too unstable, but your love is my only constant. She warned me, you're too aloof, but I see the warmth you hide beneath your distance. She said, you're too serious, but I'd rather live in your depth than in shallow distractions. She told me, you're too reckless, but it's your wildness that calls to my spirit. She said, you're too quiet, but your silence speaks louder than anything I've ever heard. She warned me, you're too passive, but it's in your calmness that I find my strength. She said, you're too harsh, but it's in your raw honesty that I see the truth. She told me, you're too impulsive, but it's your spontaneity that makes life exciting. She said, you're too difficult, but I've never been afraid of a challenge when it comes to love. She warned me, you're too carefree, but your freedom makes me feel alive. She said, you're too selfish, but your love is the only gay thing I've ever needed. She told me, you're too distant, but your distance only makes me crave you more. She warned me, you're too wounded, but it's in your scars that I see your strength. She said, you're too complicated, but it's in your complexities that I find my peace. She told me, "You're too bitter, but I taste the sweetness in your every word." She said, "You're too cold, but I've always been drawn to the warmth of your soul." She warned me, "You're too shy, but your vulnerability is the greatest gift you could give." She said, "You're too anxious, but I'm here to calm the storms inside of you." She told me, "You're too demanding, but it's your needs that make me want to give everything." She said, "You're too guarded, but it's in your protection that I feel most loved." She warned me, "You're too controlling, but I've never felt more free than in your embrace." She said, "You're too introverted, but your quiet soul speaks louder than any crowd." She told me, "You're too restless, but in your search for meaning, I've found mine." She said, "You're too distant, but it's in your absence that I realize how deeply I miss you." She warned me, "You're too stubborn, but I admire your strength in never backing down." She said, "You're too rough around the edges, but it's in your rawness that I see beauty." She told me, "You're too mysterious, but I want to spend a lifetime unraveling you." She said, "You're too insecure, but your flaws only make me love you more." She warned me, "You're too unpredictable, but it's your surprise that keeps me on fire."